Hello everyone and welcome back to Game Week 2 of the 25-26 Slater and Gordon Premiership, where you join myself, Ryan Tipple, alongside Charlie McClellan for what hopefully is a great game of football contested between Teesside and Newcastle United Foundation. But two teams challenging right towards the summit. Newcastle had a fantastic game week 1, which saw them joint top of the table. Teesside faltered slightly, certainly with the high expectations, but they're still right in that mix. Give me your thoughts on this one, Charlie, your predictions and which way you see this going.
Yeah, this is a really good game. A mouth-watering clash of the far north. I'm really excited for this one. I think this will be a really good test of Ollie Crawshaw, especially in the centre. We've seen him excel in all of his games so far this season, but this is undoubtedly the biggest test that Newcastle have faced. They're obviously joint top of the league at the start of the weekend. Teesside, though, so much pedigree. Obviously, the English champions. It doesn't really get much more difficult than that, and if Newcastle can come out of this game with a positive result, then this will do their confidence the world of good.
We had the conversation, didn't we, in that Game Week 1 podcast episode, where we said if they come out of this game week with some really fixtural points, they have to be considered title contenders, whether they like it or not. I think they were almost embracing the underdog title of one that's not necessarily in the title race, but one that will prove a really tough game for any and all opponents. But they've started this game really brightly, it must be said. To go through the squads: Alistair Hay, Tyler Reeve, Mitch Tinkler and Ed Common for Teesside. Newcastle United Foundation with Lee Armstrong, Ollie Crawshaw, Kieran Steer and Cole Simpson. That's a really nice cutout from Tyler Reeve, just to take the pressure off his defence.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the start that Newcastle made to this game. Just moving the ball around. Ollie Crawshaw looking to control it in the centre. Very hotly attended, this game.
It really is. We are swarmed by players who are very eager to watch this one unfold as Ollie Crawshaw and Tyler Reeve battle away. We assess Newcastle's game week 1, 2-0 victory over GBG Knights, 1-0 victory over Villa Rockets, 0-0 with West Bromwich Albion, 1-0 victory over Sevenoaks and a 3-0 victory over Muscle Warriors. So yet to concede. Can Mitch Tinkler be the first to register a goal against Lee Armstrong? Not on that occasion. They're certainly going to test the Newcastle defence. Quick return from Ed Common across the box to Mitch Tinkler. Finds the gap, finds the goal. Brilliant football. Teesside 1-0 up.
Yeah, fantastic from Teesside. They started off with a very interpretive set piece where they all started around the ball and then they just made it the way into positions, and yeah, it's a fantastic goal. Finished off brilliantly at the back post by Mitch Tinkler. The ball across as well was superb. Yeah, great football all round, and Teesside, who started the game relatively on the back foot, have, well, accounted for that.
Tyler Reeve's distribution is simply sensational. We saw it across game week 1, particularly those combinations with Mitch Tinkler on the alternate wing, and now Ed Common's going to take it into the 180. Doesn't quite connect. It's a rare, almost miss-hit from him. Still has possession. Over to Mitch Tinkler. The gap was there. Closed brilliantly in the end by Ollie Crawshaw. Out for a Teesside corner ball. They're really turning on the style now. They weathered the first 2 or 3 minutes, and since then they've shown why they are reigning champions. Just able to pick apart such a stubborn defence, as mentioned already. 5 consecutive clean sheets in game week 1. Irrelevant of opposition, that is an incredible feat in the top flight of English Powerchair football.
It's unlucky for Kieran Steer. Right position, they did actually really well to work it out, Newcastle. Just took a heavy touch and the ball just rolled away from him.
Nice aggressive play from Ed Common to just bypass Cole Simpson. Tyler Reeve on the edge. Just patiently waiting for one of those options to present itself into Cole Simpson. Can Kieran Steer wrap his chair around the ball? Does just enough to keep it in. Be interesting to see the impact of Greg Baxter, Dylan Pearson and coach Owen Swift, who are all absent during game week 1. And I've no doubt that played into that lack of proficiency we saw certainly in the Sunday fixtures. It's Crawshaw into Scotland international Kieran Steer. When I watch Tyler Reeve, it excites me so much for the future. This is a player who had to settle for very sporadic minutes at the recent F Nations Cup, but the quality he has, he is going to be an England superstar in the years to come. And if that is kind of a representation of what the future of the national team looks like, we're in very safe hands as Mitch Tinkler looks for the gap. When you're looking at Ollie Crawshaw and Mitch Tinkler as well, two that could very easily adorn that three-line shirt in the coming years.
Yeah, the future is very bright for England. I think Tyler Reeve is yet to show his best football in an England shirt. I think anybody who's... Well, I know he's not played much in tournaments, but when he has, he's not yet to translate that club form to country, but that will come.
It's position and classification, which mean that he's behind the likes of Chris Gordon and John Bolden, isn't he? As Kieran Steer tries to feint Alistair Hay, but he's got time on his side. And if he continues to play like this, winning titles and cup competitions with Teesside, he'll force his way right into that narrative. I know he's fresh from that one-day international camp which took place at St George's Park yesterday. You was present, Charlie. I assume Ollie was there as well.
Yeah, Ollie was there. I was surprised not to see Mitch there, but obviously there's a way that you have to work your way up through the NETP and stuff. But Ollie was there, Cole Simpson was there. There was a lot of great players present, and there was some, oh my goodness, some of the football. They sort of did, I don't want to give too much away about the camp, but they did. At the end, they did games where it was like the development squad versus the senior squad, and some of the games were actually some of the best football I've ever watched. It was ridiculous. Like the level was out of this world.
Yeah, you could charge good money for those sort of fixtures and facilitated matches as Mitch Tinkler across the box, cleared by Ollie Crawshaw, out to Ed Comet into the 180 across the box, over to Mitch Tinkler just wide of the right hand post. How quick they are distributing it from one side to the next, so impressive.
Yeah, they're one of the best things that Teesside do is that central dummy, and it's always Tyler Reeve or Ed Common that does it, and they just always look like they're going to try and front bumper it between the chairs, and they just pull out, and that just makes the defenders hesitate for just a second and opens up that gap at the back post. And when you've got someone who's as clinical as finishing as Mitch Tinkler, who's pretty much always in the right place, you score a lot of goals that way. And Mitch Tinkler obviously will be wanting to carry on his pursuit of that golden boot. He was level on goals with Dan McClellan going into this weekend. I think 8 apiece. Dan scored in their 3-0 win, Aspire's 3-0 win over Sevenoaks earlier, so
yeah,
they're level again.
Yeah, both level with 9 goals apiece. You'd have to go down to John Dixon on 6, so they've got somewhat of a buffer over the challengers, and that's a race we can see come down to the wire. Dan McClellan, however, is also top of the assist charts with 6, joint with Ed Common. So Dan McClellan having a sensational season as he looks to take in the absolute perfect form to the 2026 FIFA Powerchair Football World Cup in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
And you look at certain players on this court right now and throughout the weekend, and well, I have to say, I think it's going to take a lot to dislodge anyone from the squad that went to the Euros in Italy. There is chances for some of these players, if they have, you know, an incredible year, to book a ticket on that plane to Buenos Aires, and what a World Cup that is going to be.
Absolutely. Tyler Eve into the box. Pressuring away at Lee Armstrong. Very patient. It's closed down by Cole Simpson. When you assess those 10 nations going to the World Cup, it is without question going to be the most competitive competition we've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, I watched a lot of the America's Cup, which happened between the last national weekend and this one.
Yeah.
And like watching teams like Argentina, the USA, obviously Uruguay, even like Brazil and stuff like that. The standard of the game internationally is at an all-time high.
It is without question, but I think assessing those 3 competitions in 3 consecutive months, it's clear that Europe is the powerhouse on the continent in terms of continental football. But you've got France, England, Italy, Belgium, Denmark, USA, Argentina, Uruguay, Australia, Japan, as Mitch Tinkler attempts an effort cleared by the back wheel of Lee Armstrong. And there is very, very few weak teams within that mix. All of them will give the likes of England and others very competitive games.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that, like, we saw how good Northern Ireland were at the Euros, and the fact that they're not even at the World Cup. And like I mentioned Brazil, they held the US in the semi-final of the America's Cup for like 38 minutes. The fact that none of these teams are going to be there just is such a testament to the sides that are going to be involved. Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic World Cup.
Aaron Guthrie on, Kieran Steer off, as Cole Simpson tries to flick it up the court. The thing is with Teesside, they're so conservative with their utilisation of their 4th player being Alistair Hay. So there's never the sort of vulnerabilities that we see in the likes of West Brom and Leeds, who love to commit 4 players forward. Leeds currently playing on court A against GBG Knights. They are 1 goal up.
Big weekend for Leeds as well. Obviously Teesside and Leeds meet tomorrow morning. Super Sunday, Greg and I were calling it. We've got Teesside and Leeds on 1 court, at the same time Greenbank and Aspire on the other. Fantastic set of fixtures to look forward to. And then both of these sides, actually, Teesside and Newcastle, are involved in some big games this weekend. Teesside have got Greenbank, Newcastle have got Aspire later on, Newcastle have also got Leeds tomorrow. Tough weekend for the 2, it's a really tough one. They've settled down a little bit now, this game. Doesn't quite have the pace it did to begin with. Settled into quite a familiar pattern of Teesside just showing control and just trying to probe away at this defence.
Yeah. Tyler Reeve down to Ed Common. Newcastle have settled, relatively speaking. Ollie Crawshaw yet to impart his impressive influence. Was voted in the Team of the Week for Game Week 1 of the competition. Was very close to getting the overall Player of the Weekend. That went to Aspire's Dan McClellan.
Yeah, I think most weekends he would have got that prize afterwards. It was just for the form of Dan McClellan and Aspire, who were just ripping through teams.
One thing is for certain, that young player of the season is going to be so closely contested between Dan McClellan, Mitch Tinkler, Ollie Crawshaw.
Yeah, well, it was Mitch last season, wasn't it? Then it was Ollie the season before, and then I think Dan 2 years in a row prior to that. So, yeah. I mean, it's like all of them are genuine contenders for the Player of the Season award as well. That's the thing, is it's not like it's like these are players that aren't really playing. The Young Player of the Season award now is just as competitive as the Player of the Season one. It's really a tough decision. I think it will go down to, as it often does, the team placements. I think if Teesside win it, Mitch Tinkler will be a shoe-in, although he has just gone off for Dylan Pearson. But if Teesside win it, Mitch Tinkler will be a shoe-in. If Aspire win it, you think it will go to Dan McClellan. If Greenbank win it, you know, Jacob Buckplatt's in the conversation.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. Having just come off the back of Greenbank, the way they play football, it doesn't necessarily look overly pretty on the eyes, which does affect the way in which people perceive players' talents and abilities. And I think it's always going to favour like a free-flowing attacking team rather than a stubborn defensive team, irrelevant of how influential or important they are to that system. There's Greg Baxter also on in place of Alistair Hay.
He's done it twice in a row there. Dylan Pearson probing away at that back post. It's my word of the day today. I keep saying probing. It's a good word. Suggests the pressure that's being put on.
Final couple of minutes here into the box. Potential break on, potential overload on. Cole Simpson looks to Aaron Guthrie to his left. The swarm of blue shirts back to support Greg Baxter. To the 180, reluctant to engage. Flicked up the court. Lee Armstrong had to be considerate of that front bumper.
This game's settled down now a lot. It's now a lot more methodical than it was at the start, where it was quite excitable and fast-paced. Newcastle just trying to... I mean, they keep getting opportunities, but the issue is the ball's getting away and it's going really central, and like they're just ending up one-on-one with the goalkeeper, and there's not a huge amount you can do in that instance other than try and feint and dummy. And Greg Baxter and Alistair Hay are very experienced. Too cool to fall for something like that.
A comment into that front bumper of Tyler Reeve on the edge of the box. Dylan Pearson trapped, surely a 2-on-1. Can't get his chair round Ollie Crawshaw, who was deliberately placing his chair in a position that made it difficult for him to switch wings. He just can't generate the power on those kind of flicks. As Tyler Reeve engages out to Dylan Pearson. Out to Aaron Guthrie, a potential break on. Could have potentially taken it in reverse or looked for the front bumper into Cole Simpson, who is central. Dylan Pearson needs to be in reverse there.
Has to be. There's literally no reason as a winger to be sat facing forward at any point, really. Especially when you play like for a team like Teesside, who so good on the front bumper.
That signals the end of the first half. Teesside 1, Newcastle 1. Mitch Tinkler with a goal in the opening 4 or 5 minutes sees them take that very slender advantage into the second half. Newcastle haven't really been able to break or create anything of their own, but Teesside not as sharp as you would have come to expect of the reigning champion, something they'll surely want to address in the second half. Join myself, Ryan Sipple, and Charlie McClellan for that very shortly. Hello everyone and welcome back to the second half of Teesside versus Newcastle United Foundation. Just while we're waiting for things to get underway, I'll show you the live league table so you can see how a potential 3 points impacts things towards the top. Teesside would have played 5, won 4 with 12 points, but you're seeing that pack towards the top. Aspire, of course, leading the way, but a pocket of teams around them with a game advantage. If Teesside win their game, they would go within just a point, and also Greenbank could level Aspire at the top. So the title race is very much on, as Alan Murray gets the thumbs up from the goalkeepers, and we are back underway. A very short half-time interval, but now a chance to see Teesside up close. Charlie and I are positioned just to the bottom left-hand side of your screens, out of shot.
I thought that was a very hasty half-time.
Well, I believe that half-time was before ours.
Yeah, they're still
going.
Oh, right idea, wrong execution.
So the squad's slightly shifted, certainly for Newcastle. Lee Armstrong, Kieran Steer, Ollie Crawshaw, Cole Simpson. And Teesside unchanged from that. That ended the first half. Greg Baxter, Tyler Reeve, Ed Common and Dylan Pearson. It's a really frantic, high-paced start as Crawshaw just pushes it out of danger.
Honestly, Newcastle's best spells of the game have been when it's got a little bit excitable and a little bit frantic. When it's been slow and controlled, Teesside's class has really shone through. But when they've managed to make it a little bit scrappy and physical, they've been getting a bit of joy out of it. And I hear the toon Black and White Army shouts from above. Very vocal support for Newcastle, as always.
Tyler Reeve into the box. Cleared crucially by Lee Armstrong all the way to Kieran Steer. Very strange engagement that, as his wheels lock up.
That was a weird one. Interesting setup this from Newcastle as well for these goal kicks. They're sort of setting up in almost like a triangle with Kieran Steer as the forward point of it, and then Crawshaw and Simpson at the base.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think Newcastle are going for the win here. I think they're just trying to manage their moments.
Yeah, I think if they can drag it late and then have sort of a spell of pressure and get an equaliser, a draw in this game would be a cracking result.
Tyler Reeve. Attempt at goal from Dylan Pearson. Cole Simpson back to Ollie Crawshaw. Ricochets kindly to Kieran Steer, who tacks that right-hand post, not before Alan Murray didn't blow his whistle. Did signal for it to be brought back.
Yeah, we'd maybe have liked to see advantage
Yeah,
used
definitely.
Good two-touch.
Yeah, really nice. That's disappointing from Ollie Crawshaw.
He's got a clean strike on goal. Doesn't quite angle it.
When I say it's about moments and seizing opportunities for Newcastle, they're going to have to be ready and anticipating potential ricochets and balls. The likes of Kieran Steer and Cole Simpson isolated for large percentages of the game, but ready to punish. Just instances like that, just get a nice snap up the court, even if it goes out for a high kick in.
They're doing all they can, Newcastle.
They do bring some fantastic support, don't they?
Yeah, you can hear them speaking to one of the main culprits yesterday, Cole Simpson's dad, and he said they're going to position themselves directly above the commentary box all weekend, so the noise and the atmosphere feeds through onto the stream for us.
Well, thankfully for the more mutual viewers, directly above the commentary gantry is all cordoned off because of the camera equipment. So we've got somewhat of a gap between them, but that does not mean we can't hear them, because we most certainly can. The 180 of Kieran Steed just hasn't really found that connection and timing in this game, which can be forgiven. First games of a weekend for the respective teams are always somewhat of a challenge, where especially players are navigating travel. And
yeah, that's the thing. He's from Scotland, so he's negotiating travel from Scotland. He doesn't train with Newcastle every week. But yeah, there's been some sloppy stuff in this game.
Yeah, Dylan Pearson also trying to get up to the pace of the Premiership, having missed game week 1. And you're definitely seeing that sharpness from the performers that were present in those fixtures. What was it, back in October? Or was it November?
It was October, I think.
Late October.
The last weekend of October.
But you're going to want to... We've said it so many times that whilst it isn't overly detrimental to a season, you're going to want to perform to the best of your ability in game week 2 because of just the gap between game week 2 and game week 3. We don't convene here for another, I think, 3 months. February, the end of February is our next bout of Premiership football. The week prior is that of Championship. We'll have plenty of, obviously, cup fixtures. There'll be regional leagues going on and various other events, but it is a long gap. Nice feint from Tyler Reeve to just completely bypass Cole Simpson, and likewise Ollie Crawshaw just pushing it off. Crawshaw, that's a beautiful goal. Effortless from Tyler Reeve. Firstly past Cole Simpson, and he was constantly assessing the positions of Ollie Crawshaw and Lee Armstrong and just guided it over the line. Brilliant football.
Yeah, Tyler Reeve is just so good. So good. That was ridiculous. I mean, it's to be expected from him at this point. But yeah, just to get that little bit of separation and then just to flick the ball at the exact right moment. And yeah, that's what Teesside needed. Sort of takes the sting out of Newcastle.
If you go back, he plays it off Ollie Crawshaw ever so gently to then create the space between himself and Lee Armstrong. And now they have that 2-goal buffer.
Tyler Reeve doing Tyler Reeve things, I think is the way you say it. So yeah, a couple more changes for Teesside. Alistair Hay back in between the posts and Mitch Tinkler back on. He'll be hoping now that if this game opens up slightly, he can add to his tally.
28 minutes played, Teesside 2, Newcastle United Foundation 0. Two number 4s coming together in a heated exchange. Common. I think Newcastle have really had a sight on goal all game. They're approaching the 30-minute mark. Again, so nice from Tyler Reeves. So effective at dribbling it up the court. Into the 180 of Mitch Tinkler, switches it to Ed Common. This would be a sensational goal had Tyler Reeve guided it goal bound. Such nice football nonetheless.
Yeah, the positional rotation that Teesside show is unbelievable. Like, they end up with Mitch in the middle and Ed on one wing and Tyler on the other, and those three players are so comfortable in any of the positions on the outfield. It just makes them so difficult to deal with.
Crawshaw, as far as Tyler Reeve, who fires it down the court into Ed Commons, 180, ricochets. It's probably going to call Alistair Hay into defensive duties, just cushions it. Very harsh 2-on-1. Tinkler into Ed Common. Over to Tyler Reeve. Diagonal switch over to Ed Common. Just took a touch off a Newcastle bumper. Sam Mackay on for his first real involvement.
Just seeing this one out really well now, Teesside. You can tell that getting that second goal has just relaxed them.
Yeah, there's no need to kind of overexert themselves. They've got the 3 points almost guaranteed, so just getting valuable minutes into the wider squad. As Mitch Tinkler fires it over to Ed Common. Again, it ricochets between some of the Newcastle chairs, which takes it out of the path of Ed Common.
Yes. So close to being the perfect pass from Mitch Tinkler. That touch at the last minute was really unfortunate.
Teesside's next game, local derby against Middlesbrough. Always a very heated coming together. Tomorrow, very tough day for Teesside, which could be kind of the acid test as to their intentions across the season. Greenbank, who are incredibly stubborn and difficult to break down, and then they end against Leeds PFC. That should be a sensational fixture.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing the result of that one. I think that's going to be one of the best stylistic matchups as well. Mention Aspire and Teesside, they match up really well, and I think Leeds and Teesside will be the same. It's going to be a lot of a lot of passing.
We've stated our frustration to each other that Leeds Teesside game is the same time as Aspire Greenbank.
Yes.
Two absolutely huge fixtures, 4 title contenders playing at the same time.
It's annoying, but also that's awesome, isn't it? Like the excitement of it. It's the first, obviously, like it's not like final weekend levels of excitement, but just like the little rush and being able to see what each goal in those 2 games does to the table, and it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it massively. Matty
Harrison on in place of Sam Mackay, who had very sporadic involvement, but that has been the case of that high and wide winger for Newcastle, just the nature of how Teesside set up.
Ed Common replaced by Greg Baxter.
I'd say a quietly efficient game for Ed. Obviously the goals and the assists have come from elsewhere, but he does such an important job. Good chance to see Greg Baxter in a more attacking role.
Yes. There's not really been a headline grabber in this game, I'd say. It's been a very professional, all-round good team performance from Teesside.
Yeah, I think if you're highlighting individuals, Tyler Reeve with an assist and a goal added the context of Newcastle not conceding a goal prior to this fixture, and with relative ease for Tyler, managed to just carve out a beautiful opening early in the second half.
That he did.
Greg Baxter just cushions it into the box. Nicely controlled by Greg Baxter. Calls for a 2. Louis Armstrong just coming out the box there. Mitch Tinkler down to Greg Baxter, gets the accuracy over to Tyler Reeve into the side of Lee Armstrong. Needs to be a little bit cuter. It was very telegraphed.
Yeah, I would have liked to see Tyler Reeve kill the pace off that ball and put it back across towards Greg Baxter maybe.
Leeds starting game week 2 in the best possible way. Bearing in mind GBG Knights off the back of a very impressive point against West Bromwich Albion. They are currently 5-0 down. As Mitch Tinkler receives it in reverse, across the box, no one there to receive. It was slightly forced because the angle didn't favour Tyler Reeve nor Greg Baxter. Maybe it would like to see him just control it, trap it down in the bottom right hand corner. Whilst it's been a very professional performance from Teesside, there is room for improvement, certainly based on the high standards they've set for themselves.
Yeah, and but I think that's we didn't criticise. Yeah, we sort of did after last weekend, that they started the weekend in sort of second gear, and then we were expecting them to up it and up it and up it, and they just didn't, and then that resulted in them being beaten relatively comfortably by Aspire.
That is a beautiful goal. It's fully over the line. It's really unfortunate because the ricochet just meant it trickled. But Tyler Reeve into Mitch Tinkler, who had that diagonal splitting pass, and Greg Baxter was there to see it over the line. Fantastic third, and that does guarantee their 3 points.
Yeah, great goal by Greg Baxter. Great team move all round by Teesside. It's been the story of the game, just them carving Newcastle open. Frustrating for the Geordies, I'm sure, but great stuff from the reigning champions. And as we were saying, yeah, they didn't start last weekend great, and that we were expecting them to grow into it, and they didn't. Well, they're going to need to have a hell of a weekend and maintain this high standard the entire time if they're going to come away with maximum points, which is what they'll be hoping for.
Baxter back to Tyler Reeve, just flicks over Cole Simpson's bumper into the 180. That's like the angle was never there to favour Mitch Tinkler. As Matty Harrison gets his first real involvement. Nice pick off from Greg Baxter, looking to return from Mitch Tinkler. the thing that I think will reassure the Paul Pearson and Owen Swift the most is Teesside don't even look like they're out of second gear really, yet they're able to command such a dominant scoreline against one of the best defensive outfits in the country.
Yeah, this is the thing. It's like last season, a lot of the time in their best performances, they came out and they just looked not angry, but there was such an aggression and pure like pace and endeavour to the way they played, and they haven't really. It's been a lot more controlled in this game. Now, whether that's a conscious decision they've made to try and take the emotion out of it and, you know, just control games and not allow themselves to become embroiled in the mental side of the game. Maybe that's the decision they've made, or maybe it's just them, not needing to necessarily go to that top notch yet.
That was a nice opportunity from Tyler Reeve, almost Marco Diaz. Anyone that watched the Club World Cup, such an unorthodox way in engaging the ball, so unexpected.
I want us to make that like a term that a lot of people in English Powerchair Football use. He's absolutely Marco Diaz'd it.
Marco Diaz'd it. It's a very hard skill as Mitch Tinkler attacks, and again kisses that left-hand post, the right as you view it. And they're turning on the style now, hitting the uprights.
The post is not Teesside's friend right now. Newcastle's best defender right now, in terms of the blocks it's made.
Tyler E's been brilliant in this game, absolutely brilliant.
So dominant.
And I know coaches at England level are present, are watching. Craig Peaty is above us. He will be closely assessing the form, not just of the current crop of England internationals, but the ones knocking on the doors, the likes of Greg Baxter and Ollie Crawshaw, as we tick a minute over the regulation time. Can they put the cherry on top via this corner ball into the box? Over to Mitch Tinkler, guides it towards the goal. Whistle in the mouth of Alan Murray, and that does signal the end of the game. Teesside 3, Newcastle United Foundation 0. Give me your assessment.
Dominance from Teesside. Newcastle started brightly, but that flame was quickly extinguished when they just turned on the class, the English champions. There were question marks over their performance in game week 1. Well, they've started game week 2 with a bang. From the first whistle to the last, they looked in complete control and the goals oozed quality. A fantastic performance from Teesside, and they move on now with a very difficult weekend ahead, but with a very strong spirit and a belief that they will go and beat anyone if they play like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Statement of intent, most definitely. They've now played 5. They've got 12 points, a game in hand on the league leaders Aspire. Win that and they go within a point of the top position. Newcastle United Foundation still look very nice towards the summit. 13 points from their 6 games. But it's so interesting, so intriguing. You've got 3 clear packs there. You've got from Aspire down to the likes of Leeds in 5th. Then you've got West Brom down to Throssell's, and then Middlesbrough, GBG United, Sevenoaks and Muscle Warriors, all desperately trying to do enough to ensure that come 26-27 they remain in the top flight. Thank you to all that have tuned in, to myself and Charlie McClellan in game week 2 of the Slater and Gordon Premiership.